Golden light poured into the Seattle kitchen where Michael Green was cutting carrots, hiding his anxiety. An unread message from an unknown number flashed on his phone. Emily, his wife, was supposed to be home an hour ago. 15 years of marriage had taught him her habits, but today she hadn't called. The door creaked open and Emily entered, avoiding his gaze. "Michael, we need to talk." Her voice trembled, and the words shattered their world like glass. Golden light spilled into the Seattle kitchen, casting long shadows across the counter where Michael Green sliced carrots with practiced precision. The rhythmic thwack of a knife against the cutting board usually calmed him, but tonight his heart pounded. His phone, resting on the granite island, blinked with an unread message from an unknown number. He hadn't dared check it. Emily, his wife, was late again. 15 years of marriage had etched her routines into his mind. Fitness class at 4:30, home by 6 o'clock, always with a quick text if plans changed. Tonight there was nothing. Michael, a 42-year-old financial analyst, thrived on patterns. Numbers, schedules, predictability, they grounded him. But Emily's absence gnawed at that foundation. He set the knife down, wiping his hands on a dish towel, and glanced at the clock, 6:45. His thumb hovered over her contact, but pride held him back. She'd been distant lately. New outfits, late-night texts she brushed off as work. He'd ignored the signs, chalking them up to her stress as a 39-year-old interior designer chasing high-end clients. Now, doubt crept in like a shadow. The front door creaked open, and Michael's pulse spiked. Emily stepped inside, her designer gym bag slung over one shoulder. Her blonde hair was pulled into a neat ponytail, but her movements were off, stiff, rehearsed, like an actor stepping onto a stage. She avoided his eyes, setting her bag down with a soft thud. "Michael, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. He leaned against the counter, forcing a casual tone. "Rough class? You're late." His eyes flicked to her hand, clutching her phone as if it might betray her. The air felt thick, charged with unspoken truths. Emily took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "It's not about the class. It's about us." She paused, and the words tumbled out like a confession she'd rehearsed too many times. "I've met someone. His name's Lucas Kane. I don't love you anymore, Michael. I want a divorce." The kitchen fell silent, the hum of the fridge swallowed by the weight of her words. Michael's chest tightened, but his face remained a mask of calm. Lucas Kane, a name he'd heard in passing, some hotshot real estate developer who threw lavish charity galas. Emily had mentioned him once, her eyes too bright, her laugh too quick. He should have seen it then. "A divorce," he repeated, voice steady despite the storm inside. "That's quite a decision. Mind telling me why?" He crossed his arms, studying her. Her cheeks flushed, and her fingers tightened around her phone, a tell he'd learned from years of reading clients in boardrooms. "I'm not happy, Michael," she said, her tone defiant but brittle. "Lucas, he makes me feel alive. Like I matter. You're always working, always buried in your spreadsheets. When was the last time you really saw me?" Her words stung, each one a barb laced with half-truths. He'd worked long hours, yes, to build their life, the house, the vacations, her designer wardrobe. But her accusation felt like a script, something she'd been fed. Michael tilted his head, keeping his voice soft. "So Lucas is the answer? What's the plan, Emily? You leave, take half of everything, start fresh with him?" He let the question hang, watching her flinch. She hesitated, then rushed on. "I don't want to lose this." She gestured vaguely at the kitchen, the house, their polished life. "Maybe we could try an open marriage. For now. It could work for both of us. You'd have freedom, too." Her eyes darted away, unable to hold his gaze. Freedom. The word landed like a slap. She didn't want freedom. She wanted her cake, and to eat it, too. The house, the country club, the status, all while chasing her fling. Michael's mind raced, piecing together the cracks in her story. The late nights, the new perfume, the way she'd clutched her phone. And now, this stranger's text on his screen, pulsing like a warning. "An open marriage," he said, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "That's generous of you. Tell me about Lucas. Since we're being honest." He stepped closer, and she stiffened, her knuckles whitening around her phone. "He's successful," she said, her voice softening, almost dreamy. "He builds things, beautiful projects that change the city. He listens to me, Michael. Really listens." Her words were a knife, twisting deeper with every syllable. But there was something else, a flicker of fear in her eyes, gone as quickly as it came. Michael nodded, as if considering her pitch. Sounds like a catch. How long has this been going on? His tone was conversational, but his eyes locked onto hers, searching for the truth. 6 months, she admitted, chin lifting in defiance. It's real, Michael. I'm sorry, but it's real. 6 months. Half a year of lies while he'd been crunching numbers, planning their future. The betrayal burned, but he kept his mask in place. I see, he said, turning back to the carrots, picking up the knife. Well, it's a lot to process. Why don't you get changed? Dinner's almost ready. Emily hesitated, thrown by his calm. You're okay with this? Her voice wavered, caught between relief and suspicion. I'm not okay, he said, slicing a carrot with deliberate care. But we're adults, aren't we? We'll figure it out. He glanced at her, his smile cold. Go on. I need to finish this. She lingered a moment, then grabbed her bag and headed upstairs, her footsteps heavy on the hardwood. Michael waited until the door clicked shut before setting the knife down. His hands shook, not with grief, but with fury. 6 months. An open marriage. Lucas Kane. The pieces snapped together like a puzzle he hadn't known he was solving. He picked up his phone, the unknown number still blinking. A single message. She's not who you think. Check her texts. No name, no context. His thumb hovered over the screen, then swiped it away. He didn't need a stranger's tip to know something was wrong. Emily's fear, her guarded phone, it was enough. Michael poured a glass of wine, staring at the stairs she'd climbed. 15 years, and she thought she could unravel it all with one conversation. She didn't know him, not really. Not the man who'd clawed his way from nothing, who read patterns others missed, who never lost a game he chose to play. Dinner could wait. He had work to do. The glow of Michael Green's laptop illuminated his home office, casting sharp shadows across the walls. It was past midnight, the Seattle house silent except for the faint hum of the fridge downstairs. Emily slept, or pretended to, in their bedroom, oblivious to the storm brewing in Michael's mind. Her words from dinner still burned. I don't love you anymore. Lucas Kane. Open marriage. 6 months of lies, and she thought he'd just swallow it. He wouldn't. Not Michael, who'd built a career spotting patterns others missed, unraveling financial webs for a living. Now, those skills turned to a darker purpose. He sipped black coffee, eyes fixed on Emily's phone records, accessed through their shared family plan. She'd been careless, leaving her cloud account linked to his devices. A few clicks revealed her text with Lucas Kane, each message a fresh cut. Miss you already. Last night was magic, she'd written 2 weeks ago. Can't wait to feel your arms. From a night Michael had worked late, believing her excuse about a client dinner. But buried in the flirtation was something else, a message from Lucas that made Michael pause. Do what I say, Em, or your boss gets the photos. Photos. Blackmail. Emily wasn't just a cheater. She might be a pawn. Michael leaned back, rubbing his temples. At 42, he'd seen enough corporate games to know coercion when he read it. Lucas Kane, the charming developer Emily raved about, wasn't just stealing her heart. He was pulling strings. Michael dug deeper, pulling up bank records. Small transfers from their joint account to an unmarked one caught his eye. $500 here, $1,000 there, hidden in her business expenses. Over 6 months, it added up to nearly $20,000. A nest egg, or something worse. He traced the account to a shell company tied to Kane's real estate empire, a tangled web of LLCs that screamed dirty money. His phone buzzed, snapping him out of focus. Another text from the unknown number. She's scared. Check her search history. Michael's jaw tightened. Who was this? A friend? A rival of Kane's? He didn't trust anonymous tips, but curiosity won. Emily's browser history, synced to their shared cloud, showed searches from last week. How to escape blackmail, protecting assets and divorce, Seattle private investigators. She was trapped, maybe even desperate. For a moment, pity flickered in Michael's chest. Then he remembered her voice, dreamy as she'd praised Lucas. Pity turned to ice. He stood, pacing the office. A framed photo on his desk stopped him cold. Him and Emily, 10 years ago, laughing on a Hawaiian beach during their honeymoon. Her smile had been real then, unguarded. Had he missed her drift away, buried in his spreadsheets? The thought stung, but he shoved it down. Doubt was a luxury he couldn't afford. Not now, when every lie she'd told fueled his resolve. He needed more than texts and bank records. He needed leverage. By 2 a.m., Michael had installed a tracking app on Emily's phone, hidden behind a routine update. It would log her locations, calls, even keystrokes. Nothing invasive enough to trip alarms, but enough to map her world. He cross-referenced her texts with Lucas's public profile, charity galas, glossy headshots, rumors of shady deals. Kane's latest project, a downtown condo tower, was bleeding cash, propped up by loans he couldn't repay. A house of cards, ready to fall with the right push. The floor creaked outside his door. Michael froze, minimizing his screen as Emily's shadow passed. Was she checking on him, playing the dutiful wife to mask her guilt? He waited, heart pounding, until her footsteps faded. Too close. If she caught him now, his plan would unravel. He needed to be smarter, subtler. The tracking app pinged. Emily had texted Lucas at 2:03 a.m. He's acting normal, but I'm scared. What if he knows? Lucas's reply was instant. Stay calm. He's clueless. Just keep him happy till we're ready. Ready for what? A divorce? A getaway? Michael's fingers clenched the mouse, the plastic creaking under his grip. Morning came too soon. Emily was already in the kitchen when Michael emerged, her eyes puffy, her smile forced. Sleep okay? She asked, pouring coffee with trembling hands. She wore a silk robe, her phone tucked close like a shield. Fine, Michael lied, taking the mug. You? He watched her flinch at his gaze, a tell she couldn't hide. Restless, she said too quickly. Work stress. You know how it is. She turned away, fussing with the toaster, but her phone lit up on the counter. Michael glimpsed Lucas's name before she snatched it, shoving it into her pocket. Client trouble? He asked, voice light but probing. Her laugh was brittle. Something like that. Deadlines. She changed the subject, chattering about a new project, but her eyes kept darting to the door. Michael played along, nodding, while his mind cataloged every slip. She was unraveling, and he'd barely started. That afternoon, alone again, Michael dug into Lucas's finances. Public records showed liens on his properties, whispers of fraud in industry forums. A contact at the bank owed Michael a favor. A quick call confirmed Kane was juggling loans, one missed payment from collapse. Perfect. Michael drafted an anonymous tip to the city's financial regulator, attaching just enough data, a shady wire transfer, a forged lease, to spark a quiet audit. Not enough to nail Kane yet, but enough to rattle him. His phone buzzed again. The unknown sender. Kane's meeting her tonight. Blue Haven Cafe, 7 p.m. Michael's pulse quickened. A trap? A test? He didn't trust it, but the chance to see them together was too good to pass. He drove to the cafe, parking across the street. Through the window, Emily sat with Lucas, her face tight, his hand possessive on hers. Michael's stomach churned, but he stayed hidden, snapping a photo with his phone. Evidence, not revenge. Not yet. Back home, Emily was late again, claiming a last-minute consult. Michael greeted her with a smile. Dinner ready. Long day? He asked, setting plates. She nodded, avoiding his eyes, her phone clutched tight. Exhausting, she murmured, and for a split second, he saw it. Fear, not guilt, in her expression. Was she afraid of Lucas? Of him? The question lingered as he poured wine, his plan sharpening. He'd play her game, let her think she was safe. But every lie she told, every secret she hid, wove a tighter net. Lucas Kane thought he held the cards, but Michael was rewriting the deck. And when the time came, they'd both learn what happens when you bet against a man who never loses. The Seattle skyline glittered through the restaurant's floor-to-ceiling windows, but Michael Green's focus was on the man across the table. Lucas Kane, 45, flashed a practice smile, his tailored suit screaming money he didn't have. Emily sat between them, her hands knotted in her lap, her forced calm betrayed by the way her wine glass trembled. Michael, 42, had orchestrated this dinner at the Crest, a sleek downtown spot where power players dined. It was a stage, and he was directing the scene, every word a calculated move to unravel the affair that had shattered his world. Thanks for joining us, Lucas, Michael said, his voice smooth as he raised his glass. Emily's told me so much about you. His eyes flicked to her, catching the panic she tried to hide. 2 days had passed since he'd uncovered Lucas's blackmail, texts threatening to expose Emily to her boss unless she played along with his schemes. Michael's anonymous tip to the city's financial regulator was already stirring trouble. He'd seen reports of an audit looming over Kane's condo project. Now, he poked the hornet's nest. Lucas's smile tightened. All good things, I hope. He squeezed Emily's hand under the table, a possessive gesture that made Michael's skin crawl. It's generous of you to invite me, considering. Considering you're sleeping with my wife? Michael's tone was light, almost playful, but the words landed like a jab. Emily choked on her wine, her face flushing. Lucas's jaw twitched, his charm flickering. Michael leaned back, savoring the crack in their facade. Relax. Emily suggested we could all be adults about this. So let's talk. Tell me about your work, Lucas. Those downtown condos must keep you busy. Emily shot him a look, half plea, half warning, but Michael ignored it, his gaze locked on Lucas. The developer cleared his throat, recovering. It's a challenging market, but we're making waves. The Hamilton Tower's my biggest yet. Game changer for the city. His voice dripped confidence, but Michael knew better. Kane's loans were a house of cards, one missed payment from collapse. Impressive, Michael said, swirling his wine. Must be tough, though, juggling all those creative financing deals. Shell companies, right? Keeps things discreet. He let the words hang, watching Lucas's smile freeze. Emily's fork clattered against her plate, her eyes wide. Michael pressed on, voice casual but sharp. I hear auditors can be a nightmare when they start digging into that stuff. Lucas's hand tightened around his glass, knuckles whitening. You seem awfully interested in my business, Michael. His tone was cool, but sweat beaded on his forehead. Something you want to say? Just making conversation, Michael replied, his smile razor thin. Though I'd be careful. Regulators love a paper trail. He sipped his wine, letting the threat linger. Emily's breathing hitched, her gaze darting between them like a trapped animal. Michael felt a pang. Her fear was real, maybe not just of Lucas. Did she suspect him? He pushed the thought aside. Thou could wait. Michael, please. Emily cut in, her voice shrill. This isn't the place. She forced a laugh, glancing at Lucas. He's just curious, that's all. Right, honey? The word honey sounded hollow, a desperate play to keep the peace. Of course, Michael said, but his eyes stayed on Lucas, who looked ready to bolt. The waiter arrived, breaking the tension with plates of seared salmon and roasted vegetables. Michael used the pause to recalibrate. He'd rattled Kane, but he needed more, something to crack their alliance. His phone buzzed in his pocket, the tracking app pinging. Emily had texted Lucas under the table. He knows something. Be careful. Michael's pulse quickened. Too close. As they ate, Michael steered the talk to neutral ground, weather, city events, but his mind churned. Then Emily excused herself to the restroom. Her phone left on the table for a fleeting second. Michael seized the chance, leaning toward Lucas. One question, off the record, he said, voice low. Those photos you're holding over her. What's the price? Her career, or was something bigger? Lucas's fork stopped midair, his face paling. I don't know what you're talking about, he hissed, but his eyes betrayed him. Fear, not denial. Michael's gamble had hit home. Before Lucas could recover, Emily returned, her expression shifting from nervous to suspicious. She sat, her gaze piercing Michael. What were you two whispering about? Nothing important, Michael said, too smoothly. Her eyes narrowed, and for a heartbeat, he felt exposed, like a chess player who'd misjudged a move. Just business, he added, but her silence screamed distrust. Michael, she said, voice low, did you check my phone? The question was a blade, slicing through the air. Lucas froze, watching. Michael's heart thudded, but he forced a laugh, leaning back. Your phone? You leave it unlocked half the time. If I wanted to snoop, I wouldn't need to. He held her gaze, willing his pulse to slow. She didn't blink, her lips a thin line. Had she seen something? A notification from his tracking app? He cursed himself for not double-checking its stealth settings. I know you, Michael, she said, quieter now, almost sad. You don't let things go. The words hung heavy, a warning wrapped in regret. Lucas jumped in, deflecting with a forced joke about dessert, but the damage was done. Emily's suspicion was a crack in Michael's plan, one he couldn't afford. Dinner ended in strained pleasantries. In the car, Emily stared out the window, silent. Michael gripped the wheel, replaying her question. Did you check my phone? Too close. Back home, she went straight to bed, leaving him in his office. He pulled up the tracking app. She texted Lucas again. He's onto us. We need to move faster. Lucas's reply. He's bluffing. Stick to the plan. What plan? Divorce? Escape? Michael's jaw clenched. He needed to tighten the screws. He opened his laptop, drafting another anonymous email to the regulator, this time attaching a forged invoice from Kane's shell company, just enough to escalate the audit. Then his phone buzzed. A new message from the unknown sender. She's meeting him tomorrow. Pier 57 noon. Don't trust her. Michael stared at the screen, suspicion coiling in his gut. Who is feeding him this? A whistleblower? A rival? Or a trap to lure him out? He glanced at the honeymoon photo on his desk, Emily's laugh frozen in time. For a moment, he wondered if he could stop, let her go, rebuild alone. But the sting of her betrayal, Lucas's smug grip on her hand, burned too deep. He deleted the photo from his screen, replacing it with Kane's financial records. Mercy was for suckers. Tomorrow, he'd follow her to the pier. Not to confront, but to watch. Every step Emily took, every lie she told, was another thread in the net he was weaving. Lucas thought he was the predator, but Michael was rewriting the rules. And when the board tilted, they'd both fall. Hard. The Silver Horizon Lodge nestled against the Olympic Mountains, its cedar walls glowing under a crimson sunset. Michael Green, 42, steered their SUV into the gravel lot. The engine's hum drowned by the chirp of crickets. Emily, 39, sat beside him, her hands fidgeting with her phone, its screen dark, no signal in these hills. The 3-hour drive from Seattle had been tense, her chatter about reconnecting ringing hollow. Michael knew why she'd pushed for this weekend getaway. To pacify him, to buy time for whatever plans she and Lucas Kane were hatching. He played along, his own plans sharpening with every mile. Beautiful, isn't it? Michael said, forcing warmth as he unloaded their bags. The lodge promised seclusion, perfect for what he had in mind. Emily nodded, her smile strained, her eyes scanning the lot as if expecting Lucas's Mercedes to appear. Michael's tracking app had caught her text last night. He's acting strange. I'm scared he'll do something. Lucas's reply, stick with it, Em. We're almost free. Free from what? Marriage? Money? Michael's jaw tightened, but he kept his mask of calm. Inside, the suite was all rustic luxury. Exposed beams, a stone fireplace, a balcony overlooking a glassy lake. Emily set her bag down, her movements jerky. This is nice, she said, voice too bright. Maybe we can talk things through. Her words felt rehearsed, like lines from a script Lucas had fed her. Michael nodded, pouring 2 glasses of wine from the welcome basket. To new beginnings, he toasted, his eyes locked on hers. She hesitated, then clinked her glass, her fingers trembling. He'd seen that tremor before. Fear, not guilt. Was it Lucas she feared, or him? The question gnawed, but he pushed it aside. Doubt was a trap, and he was too deep to falter. That night, Michael lay awake, Emily's restless breathing beside him. His phone, hidden under his pillow, buzzed with a new message from the unknown sender. She's calling him now. Balcony. Listen. Heart pounding. He slipped out of bed, easing the balcony door open. Emily stood in the moonlight, whispering into her phone. Lucas, don't do anything stupid, she hissed. He's watching me. I can feel it. A pause, then. If he finds out, we're done. Just wait. Michael's blood ran cold. Wait for what? He retreated before she turned, his mind racing. She was playing both sides, hedging her bets. Morning broke with a golden haze over the lake. Emily announced she'd go for a run, her expensive sneakers laced tight. The trails look amazing, she said, avoiding his gaze. Michael nodded, sipping coffee on the balcony. Clear your head, he said, his tone neutral. I'll be here. She jogged off, her blonde ponytail bouncing, unaware of the net tightening around her. Michael's anonymous tips had hit their mark. News alerts confirmed Lucas's condo project was frozen, regulators sniffing fraud. If Emily was running to clear her head, she'd need more than a trail. He watched her disappear into the pines, then checked his phone. The tracking app showed her path veering toward the lake's secluded loop. Minutes ticked by 10:20. Then a scream pierced the air, sharp and raw, echoing off the cliffs. Michael froze, coffee mug halfway to his lips. Emily? His heart lurched, a flash of panic breaking his control. Had something gone wrong? He set the mug down, hands shaking, and grabbed his jacket. He shouldn't move. Not yet. But the scream lingered, real or imagined, clawing at his resolve. He called her phone, straight to voicemail. Emily, were you? He said, voice steady for the recording. He waited 30 minutes, pacing, then dialed the front desk. "My wife went running and hasn't come back," he said, letting worry creep in. "She's usually quick. Can you check the trails?" The clerk promised a search, and soon security fanned out, walkie-talkies crackling. Michael played the concerned husband, but his mind replayed that scream. Had Lucas followed her? Or was it a trick, her way of slipping away? By noon, police arrived, their boots crunching on gravel. A young officer, Detective Ruiz, took Michael's statement in the suite. "She left around 6:30, Michael said, running a hand through his hair. "She runs most mornings, but never this long." Ruiz nodded, scribbling notes. "Any trouble at home, Mr. Green?" "Stress, arguments." Michael hesitated, then sighed, shoulders slumping. "We've had issues. She's been seeing someone. Lucas Kane. I thought this weekend might fix things." He let his voice crack, just enough to sell it. Ruiz's pen paused. "Kane, the developer? We'll need to talk to him." Michael nodded, offering Lucas's number, his face a mask of distress. Then Ruiz's radio crackled. A ranger had found Emily's phone in the woods, screen cracked, no sign of her. Michael buried his face in his hands, but his mind raced. The phone was bait, planted to point at Lucas. His tips to the police, sent anonymously, had flagged Kane's car for a search. They'd find her earrings there soon, maybe her scarf at his office. But the scream haunted him. He hadn't planned for that. Was she hurt? Running from Lucas, not him? The doubt gnawed deeper when Ruiz returned, his expression grim. "Mr. Green, we found something else. Your fingerprints are on her phone, not just old ones, fresh." "Care to explain?" Michael's stomach dropped. He hadn't touched her phone since Seattle, had he? His mind scrambled, but he kept his voice even. "We share everything," he said, meeting Ruiz's eyes. "I borrowed it yesterday to check a map. We're married, detective. My prints are on half her things." Ruiz held his gaze, then nodded, but the suspicion lingered. Michael's pulse hammered. A mistake, his or hers. Had Emily set him up, left the phone to throw him off? As search teams combed the trails, Michael stood on the balcony, the lake glinting below. His phone buzzed. The unknown sender again. She's gone. Kane's next. No details, just a chill that sank into his bones. Gone where? He deleted the message, his plan teetering. Emily's scream, the fingerprints, the police's questions. Cracks were forming, and he couldn't see the pattern. Not yet. He glanced at the trail where she'd vanished. Lucas was unraveling in Seattle, his empire crumbling under audits. Emily was what? A victim? A traitor? The scream echoed in his mind, a warning he couldn't shake. He'd set this in motion, but now the game was shifting. Someone else was playing, and Michael wasn't sure he held the winning hand. Rain streaked the windows of Michael Green's new apartment in Portland, a modest one-bedroom far from the polished Seattle life he'd left behind. At 42, he stood alone in the half-unpacked space, a single lamp casting a warm glow over cardboard boxes. 3 weeks had passed since Emily's scream echoed in the Olympic Mountains, a sound that still haunted his dreams. The police, the search, the fingerprints, they'd nearly undone him. But now, as he sipped bourbon, the pieces of his plan had settled, and justice, cold and precise, had claimed its due. The unraveling began the day after Emily vanished. Police searched Lucas Kane's Mercedes, finding her sapphire earrings tucked in the glove box, a scarf monogrammed with her initials in his office desk. Michael's anonymous tips had worked, each clue a breadcrumb leading to Kane. By evening, headlines screamed trouble for the 45-year-old developer. Fraud charges piled up as regulators tore through his empire. His condo project collapsed, investors fled, and whispers of Emily's kidnapping sealed his fate. Detectives arrested him in a dawn raid, cameras catching his scowl as cuffs snapped shut. Michael had watched it unfold from the lodge, playing the shattered husband. "I just want her safe," he'd told Detective Ruiz, voice cracking on cue. Inside, he'd braced for the call that never came. No body, no ransom. Emily was gone, but not dead. He'd known it, felt it, even his doubt gnawed during those endless searches. The fingerprints on her phone had been a scare, her final jab, maybe to muddy his trail. But he'd covered his tracks, his story airtight, a husband blindsided by betrayal, desperate to save his marriage. Then, 5 days ago, a letter arrived, postmarked for Vancouver. No return address, just Emily's looping handwriting. Michael sat at his new kitchen counter, the envelope unopened, his heart thudding. He'd poured a drink, steadying himself before tearing it open. Her words spilled out, raw and jagged. "Michael, I ran because I had to. Lucas trapped me. Photos, lies, debts I couldn't escape. I thought I loved him, but I was wrong. I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I loved you once, more than you know. Don't hate me." A plea, not an excuse. No mention of where she'd gone, no promise to return. He'd read it twice, her voice echoing in every line. For a moment, he saw her. Not the traitor who'd proposed an open marriage, but the woman who'd laughed with him on a Hawaiian beach, her eyes bright with dreams. The memory stung, a reminder of what they'd lost. Had he pushed her too far, turned her fear into flight? The thought lingered, but he shoved it down. She'd chosen Lucas, chosen lies. Her regret didn't erase his scars. Michael acted fast, slipping the letter to Ruiz with a note. "Found this in my mailbox. I want her safe." He'd kept it vague, letting the police draw their own lines. Within hours, they traced her to a Vancouver hostel, living under a false name. She dyed her hair brown, taken a waitressing job. Emily, who'd once designed penthouses, now pouring coffee for tips. Ruiz called with the news. She'd surrendered, agreeing to testify against Lucas. Her statement painted him as a predator, his blackmail the chain that bound her. Michael listened, stone-faced, as Ruiz promised updates. He didn't need them. The net had closed. Lucas's trial was swift, a media circus Michael avoided. Fraud, coercion, and suspicion of kidnapping, charges stacked like bricks. He took a plea, 7 years behind bars, his empire ash. Emily faced no charges, her cooperation a shield, but her world crumbled. Clients dropped her, friends ghosted. Her name became a whisper of scandal. She'd begged to meet Michael, Ruiz said, to explain. He'd refused. Her voice, her tears, they were ghosts he couldn't face. Tonight, alone, Michael unpacked a box labeled miscellaneous. Beneath old books, he found a photo. Him and Emily, 10 years ago, arms around each other on that beach. Her smile was wide, his eyes soft, a moment before ambition and lies crept in. He traced her face, the bourbon bitter on his tongue. Had he won? Lucas was caged, Emily broken, his hands clean. Yet victory felt hollow, a puzzle missing its final piece. His phone buzzed, snapping him back. A final text from the unknown sender who'd tipped him months ago. "It's done. You're welcome." No signature, no clue. Michael stared, suspicion flaring. A co-worker of Lucas's? A scorn ex? Someone who'd watched the same betrayal unfold? He'd never know, and maybe it didn't matter. He deleted the message, his fingers steady. He stood, photo in hand, and walked to the sink. A match flared, its hiss loud in the quiet. The flame caught the photo's edge, curling Emily's smile into black ash. Michael watched it burn, the heat kissing his fingers before he dropped it into the sink. "Goodbye," he whispered, not to her, but to the man he'd been, trusting, blind, tethered to a life that no longer fit. The rain slowed, a drizzle now, washing Portland streets clean. Michael poured another drink, his reflection sharp in the window. At 42, he was free, not the freedom Emily had dangled, but his own. No house, no lies, no ghosts. Tomorrow, he'd start a new job, a small firm with no ties to his past. The city stretched before him, gray and open, a canvas for a man who'd learned to play the long game. He thought of Emily, somewhere north, pouring coffee, her dreams as burned as that photo. Of Lucas, caged, his charm useless behind bars. Justice had landed, not with a bang, but a quiet snap, each player caught in their own trap. Michael raised his glass to the empty room, a toast to endings. The bourbon warmed his throat, and for the first time in months, he exhaled. The game was over. He'd rewrite his story alone.